What's up? Hello, how you doing? Me again, back again. Analog Attack. And if you've just been watching, which I hope you have, part one of my Disc Union Osaka hardcore punk record sale, November 2020. Well, here's part two. Part one, we had records with predominantly black and white sleeves. Part two, they're all colour. Although the first one technically could have been in part one, I put it in part two. So I'm just assuming that you've sort of already seen part one. So Disc Union in Osaka had a hardcore punk record sale. I went along, bought some records. So let's get into part two, shall we? But before we do that, let me have a little sipperoonie to wet the old whistle. Oh, delicious, delicious. Ginga Kogan. All right, let's get into it. So, top of the pile. This is funny because I went to Disc Union twice this week. Went in there once, sort of got some stuff. And this one, I saw it, and for some reason, I sort of didn't register what it was. I thought it was something else. And when I got back home later, I was like, oh my god, I left that there. And so, of course, the next day I went back, just not expecting it to be there, but it was. I'm talking about this Brazilian hardcore compilation from 1985, Attack Sonoro, just amazing raw hardcore punk compilation. And this is the original. Look at the lineup on that. Just amazing stuff, top to bottom. This is the first pressing on Attack Frontal because it's got the gatefold like that. Attack Frontal Records, Brazil, 1985. Amazing, classic sort of regional compilation of the time. Was chuffed to get this. As I said in the last episode, all these records are in such amazing condition, minty and priced way too low. I'm not even going to say how much this was, and I'm not going to go on about the collection again. I think it was one person that sold this collection, but absolute ripper of a raw hardcore compilation album. Brazil, 1985, masterpiece. Alright, let's go to England. Here's a band I used to go and see all the time. I was on the fence about them in the day. Their live shows were always a lot of fun. Exploding Cabbages, this, that and the other. The label I used to work for even did like a split 7-inch with them with a Japanese band called Juntes, who I later put out a 7-inch by. We even did a little video with them with Extreme Noise Terror, Force Fed, and Doctor and the Crippins, and one more band which is slipping my mind right now. I'm very sorry. Of course, I'm talking about Doctor and the Crippins, their second LP entitled Raphanadosis, which, if my memory serves me correct, is a condition where a person enjoys inserting radishes into their anus. Is that true? I don't know. But yeah, now this is a band that, as I said, I was sort of on the fence with back in the day. I thought they were okay. Thought they had some sort of fun songs. Great live band. But the records were always hit and miss with me. But I tell you what, this record and the first LP, Fired from the Circus, which I rebought again a few months ago, they've held up really well. These are really, really great records. They're catchy, melodic, kind of raw production. The singer's got a great voice. So it's nice when something kind of that you didn't really like that much, but not didn't like, but was kind of like, whatever. Turns out that, years and years and years later, it's a fun listen. So yeah, I'm happy to get this back in the fold, of course, on the amazing Manic Ears Records from Bristol. Doctor and the Crippins. I think they've got a new album out, haven't they? Oh, I wonder what that's like. Any good? Anybody heard it? Oh, could go either way, that one, couldn't it? All right, let's stay in England. And again, a record that I've owned a couple of times throughout the years. Sort of got rid of them for whatever reason. And chuffed to get it back again. I posted it on Facebook the other day, and people were saying, "Oh, I've never heard of that record. Never heard it," and it's a top recommendation for me. Talking about this record, Fed Claustrophobia. This is the band that Calv from Heresy. There is full-on dreadlocks mode. I think that picture might have been taken in Tokyo, maybe. And this is a raging record. Now, the thing that I like the most about this record is this chap, the vocalist, Jamie. Now, there's the Bad Brains, and there was an Italian band called Indigesti, right? And the singer of that band had a sort of his own take on HR's vocal style, which I love that record. I love all the Indigesti records. Now, this guy, Jamie, kind of does a similar thing, I would say. He does sort of his own take on the HR vocal style, and I personally love it. And I wonder what happened to he just did this one LP with this band. Was he in that band Killing Floor? My memory's failing me. They put out a one LP on In Your Face, maybe. But I would say, if you like that Indigesti LP, check this out. Yeah, In Your Face Records, brilliant. I've talked about this before, but they changed lineup. Jamie left. They got another singer in called Mike, who was running Sycophant Records. They sort of totally changed their sound. I think this is the better record. It's a classic. Fed Claustrophobia with Cal's little Electroset artwork in the corner. £4.50. Bargain. Right, let's go to Holland. One of the all-time classic Dutch bands. I saw this band once, maybe with Heresy, probably with Ripcord, perhaps with the Stupids. It was definitely in Bath. I think Bad Dress Sense might have played too. It was an amazing gig. I'm talking about BGK. Now, a lot of people sort of say prefer the early singles and the first 12-inch. Probably they're right, but anyway, this happened to be in the shop. Nothing can go wrong. Second LP, BGK, raging Dutch hardcore. I like this because it's the Vogel spin pressing, not the alternative tentacles pressing. Again, mint condition, absolutely blistering Dutch hardcore from 1986. Classic. All right, let's go to the USA, and a pioneering band, considered to be they're one of the fastest bands in the world at the time, especially the first single and the early LPs. Back in 1988, now this is sort of a reissue, obviously, but it feels really old school, the whole packaging. DRI, the Dirty Rotten LP, they call it, and it says the true hardcore classic. So I guess it's like the first 7-inch on an LP, and with some bonus tracks like Violent Pacification on it. Obviously, raging classic, super fast, crazy stuff from DRI. But it says they've all been remixed. Now, I don't have the original 7-inch with me, or any, I only have this version. Does anybody know if there's any vast differences? I couldn't hear any sort of weirdness going on. How does the sound compare? Let's discuss it in the comments. But obviously, this is a classic, old school reissue. It's on Rotten Records and sort of Roadrunner Europe too. Classic stuff. Okay, now this section is the crossover section. Now, crossover from this era, there was some really, really good stuff. There was some okay stuff, and there was some stuff that was quite bad. And well, let's have a little look at what I picked up. Because let's start with something a bit negative, I suppose. Because this is a record that I probably did own back in the day when it came out. It's on Manic Ears Records. This is a band from Vancouver called Adversity. The record's called Lost It All. Back in the day, it was sort of marketed as being sort of really metallic crossover. It's just not. It hasn't stood the test of time well for me. It's just a terrible recording, It's not powerful at all. I don't really know why Manicheers thought this was a good idea to put out this record. The songs aren't memorable. It's kind of weak sounding, but it was 300 yen. It's in mint condition. Does anybody like this record? Let's have a little discussion about Crossover in the comments. Adversity, Vancouver, late 80s, yeah, 1988. Lost it all. So from that to a bona fide classic. Excel, The Joke's on You, terrible artwork, great picture, classic Venice Beach, California, crossover on Caroline, major label. This, my friends, is how you do crossover. Oh, this one's got that smell. Someone was mentioning that the other day. It's got that sort of a slight musky, moldy smell that comes from records living through many humid Japanese summers. But lovely smell. I like this smell. And anyway, crossover classic, Excel, The Joke's on You. All right, here's a nice little comp. Just, I don't know, kind of amusing artwork. Look at the lineup: Verbal Abuse, Fang, Bonus Ones, Tales of Terror, Blast, Special Forces. Some of the bands on this sort of held up better than others. Verbal Abuse, I love. The Special Forces tracks on this I really like a lot. The Fang songs, not so much. Blast, obviously amazing, but yeah, I like this record a lot. The Bonus Ones also. Yeah, this is kind of top quality, top notch compilation of sort of crossover-ish bands of the time. Then boners be popping. Sad, indulgent rock stars feel their hopelessly overblown egos while we exploit them for every penny they're worth, is the little subtitle of the record. More crossover. This one is a Rage Eye top tier crossover of the era. Lethal Aggression and Life is hard, but that's no excuse. All this is a German pressing on Funhouse. Might be on coloured vinyl. Yeah, it's on red vinyl. This is how hardcore sort of crossover should be done. Short songs, catchy, but with a little bit of a early New York hardcore vibe, I would say. Like a bit of sort of Mayhem, Straight Ahead, that kind of vibe going on there too. Were they a New York band? I think I don't know, not sure. Let me know in the comments. But either way, it's got like a New Jersey phone number there, so I guess they were from the New York area. Classic crossover. Lethal Aggression. Life is hard. Certainly is. Especially this year, it's been a bit tough, hasn't it? More crossover on Alchemy Records, who were putting out a lot of crossover at the time, weren't they? Clown Alley, House of Virulence, tons of other stuff. This one, maybe a little bit of a lesser known one, Paranoia. It's not an A-grade crossover record, but it's really, really good. I like it a lot. I like the artwork. It's a bit puss-headish, a bit cartoonish as well, actually, the bag. Paranoia, what's the title? The Many Faces of Paranoia, I guess. Yeah, decent crossover record from the period. Paranoia. Don't know much about this band. If you do know, let me know in the comments. Okay, so we're sort of going bad, good, and then bad, good, and this is one that, you know what, this record, okay, sorry, it's Ludacris, Immaculate Deception. When this record came out, and there's a big hoo-ha about this record, it was hyped to death. All my friends, like back in the day, loved it. They said like it was like just this like super like heavy record, you know. I never bought it on vinyl back in the day, and I think I had it on tape, and I'd actually sort of forgotten what it sounded like, and it was sat there, and it was cheap. It was like what, $4. This is, again, it's a German pressing on the great We Bite Records, but sorry if anybody is a Ludacris fan, I do apologise, but this record hasn't held up well at all. It really hasn't. I think, again, this is probably, so yeah, you go, it's the, look at that, like pink vinyl, but it kind of sounds jokey. It's not very heavy. It's a bit wacky, and yeah, I'm sorry, but this record hasn't held up well for me at all. But there you go. It's got The Last Train to Clarksville on it, with like Roger from Agnostic Front, and Eddie from Leeway, and John from Nuclear Assault, and Chris of the Crumbsuckers. Like, you've got all these amazing sort of singers on it, but they do this like wacky version of the Last Train to Clarksville. So anyway, Ludichrist, Immaculate Deception. So in the first episode, we had a couple of records from New York, Nausea and Reagan Youth. Here's another band from New York who are kind of legends, I guess. Now, I bought these two because really, since talking to Lou of Sick of It All, he sort of sparked or my interest, or renewed my interest, or whatever you want to call it, in New York hardcore. And of course, after I uploaded the video with him, my sort of YouTube algorithm was feeding me all this sort of stuff from New York. And there's that 10 questions, there's that New York Chronicles documentary, and there's like, they have these like little short interviews, and there was one with Jimmy Gestapo, and then of course lots of Jimmy Gestapo stuff, and well, Murphy's Law. So first, I think this is the first LP, right? So Murphy's Law, I think this is on colour vinyl as well. Let's have a little look. Yeah, it's on profile. Green vinyl. I think this is the first LP, all messing about, put it down, and then back with a bong. The second LP, still got the shrink wrap on it. And I think this is on, yeah, there we go. Clear vinyl, also on profile. Now, disclaimer, I haven't had time to listen to both of these records yet. I know they're kind of legendary bands. They toured with the Beastie Boys, and Jimmy Gestapo is like one of the sort of all-time great New York hardcore characters. So I'm going to get back to these records later, and I'll let you know what I think of them, perhaps in another episode. So anyway, first two Murphy's Law LPs got in one fell swoop. And yeah, staying in America, I think this band was from San Francisco. I think this record might be considered a bit of a classic. It's hardcore punk, but it's got a lot of twists and turns in it, a bit different. Code of Honor, Beware the Savage Jaw. The cover's actually red, so is my Discharge t-shirt. The lighting's making everything look a bit salmon pink, isn't it? But yeah, I think this came out in about 1985, 86. I don't know much about the band. Didn't they have a split LP with another band from the same area, San Francisco? Again, I listened to it once. Great record, a bit eclectic. And yeah, I'm really happy to get this. Again, another record, first time to own on vinyl. Code of Honor, Beware the Savage Jaw, on Subterranean Records, who had a shop, didn't they? I know they had that huge kind of distribution outfit going on back in the day. Code of Honor. Okay, this is funny because we were talking about this the other day. Actually, with two different mates, we were talking about this LP, the third LP by Boston legends, the FUs. And you know what? They were right. I think it was it Bobby? Was it you, Bobby? You were saying that this is your favourite FUs album. I'd never really heard it. And so, of course, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I've got to pick it up. The FUs, Do We Really Want to Hurt You? Yeah, it's got a bit more rock influence, more melodic, more mature. But yeah, solid record. And you can definitely hear the seeds of, you know, what they would do in the Straw Dogs, which is the sort of post FUs band. They had some Straw Dogs LPs in there too, but I sort of left them because I was a bit hesitant. But I might go back and pick those up actually if they're still there. I don't think the Straw Dogs are sort of well known in Japan, but yeah, this is a great LP. I like the sort of rock influences in this record. The FUs, it's on Gasatanka Records, marketed by Enigma. We were talking about Enigma in the first episode, so yeah, good record. Now this is funny because okay, so back in the day I did the distribution and label MCR UK, and there weren't that many people around the world who were, I mean there were a few, but there was like just certain small labels or distributors around the world who I would trade records with. One of those labels was Action Records. 'Cause, do you remember they had this incredible like distribution list, and they had like little descriptions of every release, and they're kind of funny, and they would just they would sell like every kind of mince core or like death metal, grindcore, noise, split 7-inch from all over the world. They just had this crazy distribution list. And of course, is it Charlie Infection was one of the main blokes, right? And of course, they had their own band called Psycho, and I didn't like that band at all. I thought it was just really meat and potatoes, sort of, C grade hardcore. But I saw this just sat there, and I just couldn't resist buying it. And sorry, I'm talking about Psycho, You Love Us, You Hate Us, first pressing, gold wax. It's on Action Records. It's from 1988, from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Unbelievable. I put it on. It's incredible. It's so good. It's like catchy. It's kind of like a little bit inept, raw, but shambolic hardcore, but really, really enjoyable. Now I'm sort of on a mission to get all the other Psycho records. Charlie Infection, yeah, there he is. There he is. He was the drummer. What character? Honestly, if you've sort of done as I have and sort of poo-pooed Psycho, as it were, give them another go. This is just great, great hardcore. Lovely stuff. Psycho. You love us, you hate us. Well, I'm telling you, I love you. I don't hate you. Great band. All right, I'm going to finish on a high note. This is a record that me and Tony talked about in our US melodic punk episode. It was one of his favorites, and it's a record that I am familiar with. I've never owned it on vinyl as far as I can remember. There's a lot of different pressings of it. It's considered a classic. It's considered a classic for good reason. Tony had the original, that sort of first pressing. This is an old pressing on Toxic Shock, legendary label from California. Sorry, of course, I'm talking about the Zero Boys, Vicious Circle. This, of course, is a masterpiece. It's hardcore punk. It's melodic, top-notch songwriting. This pressing has 6 extra songs on it. You see that? High Places, Human Body, Mum's Wallet, Johnny Better Get G and Dingy Bar Suck. I agree with that. And but yeah, this is absolute classic. Again, first time for me to own a vinyl. Melodic hardcore punk, and from Indianapolis, right? The Zero Boys, Indiana. Ken Prank was saying that he went down there in the 80s and couldn't find any hardcore records. And let me get this right. Paul Mahan from the Zero Boys, the vocalist, has been working with John Cougar Mellencamp apparently for the last decade or 2 decades. So there's a little bit of a tidbit for you. So I'm ending on a classic. As I said in the first episode, the main Disunion hardcore punk sale happened yesterday. I didn't go. I didn't want to go when it was too crowded, but I just know there was all the really super hyper rare 7 inches. But I might go back on Monday, just have a little look, see what if there are any leftovers left over. Let's see what they got. Well, thanks for tuning in. It was short, sweet, all hardcore punk. Hope you enjoyed it. Next episode coming up, I think, is going to be digging in to the world of the 10-inch record with Tony Pence from Celebrated Summer. I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a pile of really interesting records lined up for that. So look out for that. Until next time, as always, stay healthy and stay especially clean.